fruit and veggie smoothies at all levels. My managers have figured out which vegetables do well for each school. For instance, at Thomas Jefferson, we found that carrot-based smoothies, the vegetable, works better. At the high school, we found avocado and spinach work well. We also introduced, at the middle and the high school level, new iced drinks. We did fresh lemonade, we did iced tea and Arnold Palmer's, and they were all sweetened with agave. We also introduced open-faced calzones. We did cooked fruit toppings like blueberries, strawberries, cherries on the breakfast bar that was reduced down to a syrup-like, using only the fruit. We also instituted a make-your-own oatmeal bar where the students can create whatever toppings they want using blueberries, brown sugar, things of that nature. This summer what we worked on was the backpack program. We had 22 backpacks that included 5 families and 11 students. And what we give them for the backpack program, we give them fresh fruit and vegetables, fresh meat. We give them the same thing that the normal individual would get when they go shopping at Giants. We also did summer school meals. So far, we've had produced 1,808 meals for the summer. And the other thing that we're working on is training a new manager over at Mary Ellen Henderson. We're looking at introducing acai bowls for breakfast at all levels. We're going to introduce the Farmbot, which we hope to have ready this fall. Right now, Steve Knight and Jason Perkins are programming the arm. The raised farm bed, which is 3.5 feet high, has been completed and is sitting in the senior courtyard. So for those who haven't seen it yet, I would offer that you go over and take a look at it. It's something fantastic. And one of the things I would like to add, because we've been talking for the last week about community. And first of all, I would like to say that this community is one of the most caring communities I have ever seen. First of all, when we're constructing the Farmbot, one student said, "Wow, I actually get to handle a power tool." She said, "In my culture, we are never allowed to touch tools." Another experience was a teacher came to me and he said, there's a group of students who feel as if when they put together the Farmbot, they were just the manual labor for it. And he wanted to know, could they be involved in programming the arm also? We encourage those kids to also get involved in programming. In this school district, we have such a fantastic set of students, a fantastic set of staff who engage every day with the students on a personal level. And personally, I would like to say thank you for selecting all these, the A team to be working here in Falls Church City.
So thank you for indulging us in that. It was a great opportunity for our directors to talk a little bit about some of the work they're doing, but a good reminder whenever we're asked, so what do you do during the summer? Remember, we're planning a 9-month party in 3 months, and so these folks have been working really hard to make that happen. So tonight, Ms. Michael is here as the Chief Operating Officer. We also have our directors here, and I know that they would be open to any questions that you might have.
Everybody up here knows where I'm going with this. Open-faced calzones.
I think it's pizza.
Yeah, I think so too. There you go. All kidding aside, I'd like to hear more about the Farmbot. So tell us a little bit more about that if you can.
Okay. The Farmbot is a collaboration between the Food Service Department, the Science Department with Dr. Mecca, and Jason Perkins. And we got together to make a robotic arm, and we made it 3.5 feet high so that students who have motor disabilities won't have to be always bending over. So we made it so that everybody is included, so that they can help with the planting. Right now, Steve Knight and Jason Perkins are programming a robotic arm that goes across. And if you look at Farmbot.io, it's an open source program that the students get involved in, and we have each department involved in, and it's a big collaboration. So when we grow the stuff, the program will actually weed and seed everything. do the weeds. We just put the seeds in there and it'll plant them for us. The goal is, just like we did with the hydroponics and the aquaponics, is to grow the food and then we take it straight to the cafeteria. During the summertime when we grow food, we give it to the backpack program. So whatever access we have, someone's eating it. So when they say farm to table, we actually have our urban farm in-house where it goes like 20 feet to the students. So that's it. And it should be up this fall. They're programming the arm now. So it's a real life situation. They're coming across technical difficulties and, you know, things of that nature.
I would just add to the incredible passion that Richard, Mr. Kane has, along with the teachers, an equivalent passion from the Ed Foundation, who also helped support the purchasing of our Farmbot, and it's quite something to see. So looking forward to watching it work.
And I would like to add that none of this could have been possible without the Falls Church Education Foundation. They have been big supporters of ours and believe in my dream and the dream of the science department, working collaboratively to get this all out to the students as a STEM project. And open-faced calzones are real.
My question is probably for Amy, and kind of a big picture question about staffing. You know, I think we hear a lot about teacher shortages, so I'm just curious, as you guys are recruiting over the summer, you know, are we still getting lots of applicants for things? You know, are we still competitive? And also, what's kind of the pool of diverse candidates like? Is it still pretty difficult to find those folks?
So as far as the diverse candidates, we, like you mentioned, we reached out attended a couple different recruiting fairs, tried to look for some with at universities with a more diverse population. Had varying results. Learned that in Pennsylvania, a lot of teachers stay in Pennsylvania and they don't want to go to Virginia. But we'll know more about the diversity numbers once we finalize and get all the hiring done. As far as shortages, special ed is definitely an area where there are shortages and those positions are harder to fill. We do still have a few special ed teacher positions that are open. And that's, I mean, across the board, we saw that when we were at the recruiting fairs. There just weren't that many with those endorsements as well. So, and I'm sorry, was there another piece that you asked that I didn't answer? We are. So from a salary perspective, we're definitely competitive. There was a study, the Virginia Education Association, I believe it was, sent out results in the spring and ranked all districts in the state. And we came in the 1 and 2 and many of the different levels. They measured like based on degree and number of years of experience. And we were 1 and 2 in almost all, definitely within the top 10 at every level. And I think one thing that I'd like to focus on, and one thing that I notice is that it's probably more a matter of people not knowing that Falls Church City Public Schools exists. They think we're part of Fairfax County or Arlington County, so that's something that I'd like to focus on. This year is really doing some more marketing and getting the message out about who we are.
So I've actually got a question, Ms. Michael, that it's going to go into two different parts of the org side. I'm thinking in terms of the impacts of the construction and bus routes, transportation, and all of this. So how are we doing on coordinating with the construction cycle, the construction vehicles getting into the site, all of the vehicles that are going around at Founders Row, and then bus routes and bikes and kids walking to school?
So I'd really like to say we've had just a great collaboration with our builder, Gilbane, as well as our owners' representatives, Brailsford and Dunleavy. Just earlier today, even, we were going through parking again in terms of parking and our routes. They've been very receptive over the summer. They stopped traffic during the times our program started and ended. And we'll be giving, Dr. Noonan will be giving a transportation update later tonight. But it's been working really well, and they're really open to communication. The things we're really working on now is how do we get the message out, right? How do we get great signage to try to make sure that people are well informed and people not familiar with our campus are able to navigate it? And then we'll continue to work with Gilbane to ensure that we're not commingling construction traffic with our school traffic during arrival and drop-off time.
And following up on Greg's question for Ms. Michael and probably Dr. Noonan as well, have we spoken to WMATA or anyone else about using those bus routes as another way to get kids to and from the high school, the public bus routes? And it's a question I get a lot in the community and from city council members is, are we utilizing that route as another way to get kids to school instead of running more buses?
So we haven't yet pursued getting a program in place where our students could ride WMATA buses at no charge or at a charge to the school system instead of the students, but that is one of the things that we want to look into. It's a great way to help supplement your routes. They often can't take the place of your routes due to the timing and the exact location where they are, but it's a great supplement that really does help reduce traffic and benefit students and families.
Great, thank you. Oh yes, Mr. Webb.
That actually triggered a question for me. I was at a boosters meeting on Sunday evening, and the topic about the parking and bus route came up, and the WMATA piece came up as well of potentially doing a late bus run for athletes and folks who may be doing evening programs, and potentially, going to WMATA and maybe talking about something to that nature too, or opposed to our buses, maybe one late run from between, what was like a 4 to 7 run where parents aren't necessarily coming up to do the pickup where right now it's going to be just really congested. And you already do one, but I think it's earlier than that. They're talking a little later toward in the evening around when potential practices and things like that, or a person maybe in rehearsal for a show that may do that, and maybe come up with a location or 1 or 2 stops along Broad Street where parents know that's where they can pick up their kids versus coming up to the Mason campus to pick up students and just causing more in the way of traffic with things going on.
Yeah, we could certainly look into what options and possibilities might be there. One of the things tonight when I show you the transportation or the site circulation and the parking information for both the Henderson site and the George Mason site, I felt personally more at ease after we had our meeting. So it will be, I think, fairly smooth. In fact, what's kind of nice about where the construction site is, particularly after 3 o'clock in the afternoon, all construction traffic pretty much stops about 3 or 3:30. And the site is just as open, it will be just as open then as it is now, which will be kind of nice. So I can share some of that later, but certainly doesn't mean that we couldn't look at some other options, whether it's the cost of what it would cost us to do a later bus, or, continuing the conversations with WMATA.
Great. If there are no further questions or comments, then thank you all very much for those great presentations. I know it's hard to see your face that bang on that screen, and you all did wonderfully. So thank you very much for all of your hard work this summer and throughout the school year. Moving on to Section 3, public comments and requests. In accordance with School Board Bylaw 2.30, the time for each speaker is limited to 3 minutes. Additional written statements may be submitted to the clerk for dissemination to board members and for the record. I don't see any comments tonight, so we'll move on to Section 4, which is recognitions and reports, of which we have none. And we'll go on to 5, which is our closed meeting. Would someone please read us into closed?
I move pursuant to the Virginia Freedom of Information Act, I move that the board convene a closed meeting for the following purpose: to discuss or consider the identified subject matter. Personnel under Section 2.2-3711A1, in particular, staff appointments, staff reassignments, staff resignations, staff retirements, staff performance, staff separation, staff change in position, non-reappointments, dependent care leave, long-term medical leave, and and leave of absence and advisory committee appointments and student matters under Section 2.23711A2, in particular, non-resident